Peace, everyone. Welcome back to another Art Club live stream. Hope you're having a lovely day so far. Hope you had a good weekend. Hey there, Diane. Good to see you. Um, Plan is to finish this project today, which kind of makes it the last stream for the foreseeable future. I'm going to start by blending everything because I skipped that last week because it was starting to go on for a little bit longer than I wanted the stream to go for, but just start calmly with this slow and steady process. Just got to put in the shadows. Got my pencils sharpened. I got my blender here cleaned. I was just cleaning it and started streaming as soon as I was done. Hello, hello. Claire, Linda, good to see you. It's been a long morning. Tell you what, it has been a long morning. I'm kind of stuck with the game engine programming currently. I got a lot done this weekend, but goodness, the last I don't know, probably 14 hours worth of programming has quite literally resulted in zero progress. Um, I just deleted everything to start over with the system that I'm working on because for whatever reason I just couldn't figure out why it was not working. I'm still not sure why it isn't working. So I started over from scratch with the system just before I started streaming, and so it's broken. It's obsolete right now. And I'm wondering if I'm even like what I'm doing. I think I might be over engineering probably like the easiest thing. And like now that I'm thinking about it and talking about it out loud, I think maybe I should work on something else. I'm really quite pleased with the way that the color of the jacket came together, and as I'm blending it, it's getting even better. It looks even better. Smoothing it out, the color is pretty much identical to the reference, which I wasn't actually expecting. I didn't have high hopes for it to be pretty much the exact teal that I was aiming for, but I guess I doubted my experience in blending colors because um, my intuition was seemingly spot on with this color. Yeah, good to step away. It's been a long morning. I started working on it yesterday. Um, After a long, I so what was I doing yesterday? Yesterday in the morning, was working on what's called post processing, um, and writing shader code. And what that does is it allows you to tell the GPU how to draw the pixels, and you can do really cool things with shaders. You can you can essentially, I mean, you can do all kinds of things, but essentially what it does is it tells the GPU how to render a pixel, and so you can like set rules for the GPU and be like, hey, all of these pixels do this thing, all of these pixels, and you use the RGBA values of the pixel to like manipulate it, and you can do things like blurring and vignetting and just all of these really cool effects. And so I was working on creating a bunch of different template effects. And one of the trickier ones was a bloom effect that like layers several effects on top of each other, renders it to a separate render target, and then um, switches the render target at the last second to give the effect. And it's like this bloom effect. And I was having this really annoying bug where the previous render target was flipped on the y-axis, and I was trying to figure out where the flip was happening, and it took way too long because it's quite literally just somewhere a y value is being multiplied by -1, and so it's just flipping, and it was creating like this weird ghosty image, but the image was upside down, and I was like, oh my gosh, where is this happening? And it took a while. It took about 2 hours to find, and it was yeah, it was a little time consuming, and I spent most of the morning doing that. Um, and it feels like, gosh, it feels kind of like a waste of time to do because it's not important. It's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like vital to the engine. Like, even if you don't have post processing capabilities, like it's not a huge deal. But to spend a whole morning on it, and even early afternoon, I didn't get started on the important things, which is the physics, the physics system, until later in the afternoon, and then I spent the rest of the night working on that, not getting it working. And then I've been doing it since 6 this morning, and eventually I just deleted all the code and started over from scratch a couple hours ago. Hey there, Holly. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's not easy reading through code. It's not the most invigorating story to spend hours reading. That's for sure. The biggest pitfall really is that not necessarily that code is hard to look at, but when it comes to debugging, it's a lot of tracing back between files, and that's like the tedious thing, because not everything is in one file. That would be even a bigger nightmare, but usually it just comes down to tracing a function back to where it starts, and like, oh, where's the entry point here to this chain of function calls, and then of course functions call several functions, and you got to trace those ones to where they go and try to figure it out. And yeah, it's just a giant web of functions everywhere, and it can get pretty tedious for sure. It's very time consuming. Debugging is very, very time consuming. I think that's where AI really is probably the biggest benefit, is that it's pretty good at spotting errors in code. It's not very good at coding, but it's pretty good at spotting errors if you feed it code. And I think uh, I want to say Anthropic, the big AI company or whatever, they just released a new model like a few days ago or something. Because I watch quite a bit of AI news, and whatever, keep up with the technology and how it's progressing. And it's the first model, and it might be the first AI model that actually worked on itself. So like their AI actually worked on improving itself. And I think that's the first time. To what degree, they're probably overselling it realistically, but to use it sort of to debug itself, I mean, that's still pretty cool. Um, it probably didn't do any like agent coding where it actually like changed its code base by itself to improve it, but yeah, we're coming up on we're probably coming up on AI self-improving, which is pretty crazy. I don't think it's a super safe approach because AI sees ghosts like crazy. There's a lot of hallucination in AI. It's almost comical, actually. There's whole YouTube comedy channels dedicated to making fun of AI's hallucinations. It's pretty funny. Yeah, yeah. I think that's what most people have a misconception of when it comes to the AI stuff. Um, is they you either have like you have two extremes currently. You have the extreme like anti AI people that are just delusional about pretty much everything in the concept that they don't know how like a large language model works. They just have no concept of what's actually happening behind the veil, and they just think it's all evil and corrupt or whatever, when really it's just at this stage it's just a guessing game. Like that's all AI really is at this point, is just a big guessing game, and it's just getting better at guessing, but it's not having thoughts of its own. It's still just programming in the background, but it's nonetheless very impressive programming. It's just a guessing game. And and then you have people that accept everything, accept everything, and just they they also don't realize that it's just a guessing game, and the answers that they're getting are just guesses, but they take it as the gospel truth. So you have like two extremes. And the funny thing is neither group knows what's going on at all. They're both completely clueless, but they're so certain that they get it. I think you have like different pockets of like AI as well, because you have like the search based and the coding stuff. The more, I guess, practical tool based um, AI stuff. And then you have the artistic stuff like image generation and video generation, and that stuff has gotten crazy good. It's pretty insane. One of the channels that I watch, why is that shutting down? Goodness. I still okay, now I'm just confused. I double checked. I double checked the camera before I started to make sure that it was like plugged in fully. Um, you were the mean math teacher that made them show all their work. Yeah, that's the only way to teach math. That's the only way to teach math. If you don't physically do the calculations, like you're not doing math and you're not learning it. That's absolutely the only way. I think the only thing that got me in trouble in school with math was, so I understood the position of wanting to show the work, but if you're not allowed to use a calculator and you can do it in your head and you can do it consistently and get the right answer, that was me. So we weren't allowed to use calculators, but I'm also not going to show you my work because because if I can just do it in my head, it's faster than writing it down. And that was, yeah, that held me back a lot. That got me in trouble a lot. But I kind of got used to it, especially in university. Like there was no option. Of course, if I could do the stuff that I was doing in university in my head, then I'd probably just be a mathematician at this point. But I'm nowhere near that. But when I was in high school, I took the absolute easiest classes that I could. I skated by the best that I possibly could, in spite of getting kicked out of classes pretty much consistently since I was in the sixth grade, because they kept forcing me into the more advanced classes. Because I would always sign up for the easiest classes because I was like, I don't want to try. I'm not here to try. But usually in the first semester, the teacher would notice what's going on and be like, you shouldn't be in this class, and then they'd get kicked out. It was pretty much every class. Even I even got kicked out of English class because there was like a literature class or something more advanced, AP English or something like that. It happened every year since I was in the sixth grade. Every single year. And it would have happened in the fourth and fifth grade if I wasn't going to such a small school. Uh, yeah. I remember when I was in the eighth grade, the math teacher just gave me the high school math book and had me sit in the back of the class and read it just by myself. I was in a math class all by myself in the eighth grade because everybody else was way behind where I was at. And the ironic thing was that I was always slacking as much as I possibly could. And so who knows where I could have been at if I actually applied myself or had somebody convince me that there was any reason to. I forget what I was talking about AI. Yeah, the AI art generation stuff. Um there's like so many people so many people that like call it stealing and all of this. Um and the one thing that I haven't yet seen a traditional artist complain about AI generation. That's the only people that I don't see complaining about AI art generation, because you can't generate traditional art. So the only people complaining about it are digital artists, which, I mean, there's a reason that I never fully committed to digital art. Um, and it's the same reason that I buy physical books to read. There's just something tangible in traditional art and even reading that it just it's just better. I kind of feel like I kind of feel like the hipster that tries to tell you that buying a bunch of records and listening to them on a record player are better. And not to suggest that records don't sound better than digital media. I actually don't know, and I don't have an opinion on it. But there's something about having the art tangibly in front of you and physically working on it that makes the connection to it more significant, or at least it feels more significant. Whereas, you say you spend 40 hours on a digital piece of work and you save it on a hard drive and that hard drive gets corrupted. It's like, it's nothing but zeros and ones at the end of the day. There was nothing there. There was nothing there that was real in the first place. Um, and I just feel like that's the limitation of digital art, is that at the end of the day, you're using this tool to create these images that aren't real. They have no tangible realness to them. And that's kind of like AI art generation in general. And I think the funniest part is that the way I see the art generation versus the digital art space is a lot like traditional artists back in the late 1800s when the camera was invented. And there was this big uproar about cameras sort of destroying traditional art because you could just take a picture of a landscape instead of painting it. But as history has clearly shown, traditional art has lasted thousands of years. And if anything, the invention of the camera accelerated a new potential for traditional art as opposed to somehow replacing it. And I think that the AI art generation is a similar tool, and the people that feel threatened by it are just they've just lost the thread. Like they have no idea. Um, if you imagine, because I don't think it's in some cases it's pretty good, and almost indistinguishable from like human generated art. Uh, there's still artifacts that I say come through probably like 80% of the time, depending on the subject matter. There's 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 still artifacts that come through that don't make sense to a real artist, and maybe you need to be a fairly decent artist to pick out AI from regularly human generated art. But the gap is getting closer and closer. Like it's closing a lot. There's some work that I see because I always check it out. It's kind of a daily thing. Maybe not daily, but a couple times a week I'll see what like AI is up to. Uh, out of sheer curiosity. And the art is getting better. It generally is, but it's also getting very similar. Like it's all kind of looking the same, and it's not really exciting. Like it was really exciting in the beginning, I think. It was like, "Oh, that looks really cool." But the more you see it, the more it starts to kind of look the same. It's almost like it has established its own style, and it's not a particularly I don't know. It's not really a style that appeals to me. So it doesn't bother me at all. I don't think it would bother me at all, even if I was a digital artist. I think the people that have like this weird philosophical stance against it, I think they're just uh, I think they're just posturing. I just feel like they're posturing. You know, have this moral stance, like they take like a moral stance on it, and kind of just feels like virtue signaling a little bit. Like, oh, look at me, I'm against the AI art generation for, insert whatever keyword reason, whatever reason is popular at the time, I guess. Granted, like the environmental reason, that was a popular one that came out a couple months ago. A lot of people were like, "Oh no, no AI, it's bad for the environment." And I'm not arguing that it's good for the environment, but it does use a lot of resources for sure. I haven't really seen, truly, I can't say I've seen much benefit to all of it. I don't know if you guys have, but I personally haven't really seen any tangible benefits of AI. I feel like the AI bubble is probably going to crash, if not this year, probably in the next year or so. I really feel like they've hyped it, and they've continued to hype it, and they continue to hype it even. But it's not, I'm not really seeing the tangible real world benefits. Like even the AI art generation stuff, like it's mildly beneficial, and I think that it makes for a good tool in some industries. But at the end of the day, I haven't seen anything real. Like, and that kind of goes with like um the realness of digital art. Like it doesn't exist in the real world unless you print it off, and then it's like, okay, well, your prints are cool and whatnot, but there's always something a little bit more tangible to something that's been created, like traditional art or books. And when it comes to all the AI hype, the art side of it and the coding side of it, all of that stuff, I just I I just don't see the tangible benefit yet. Like I'm missing it. And the funny thing is, I follow uh, probably like three channels, I think, that are always discussing like AI and their improvements on benchmarks. And it's like, yeah, like improving on the benchmarks, these arbitrary um, tests that they give their models to determine if they've had any improvement. But with all of the increased benchmark scores, I'm I'm still not seeing the benefit. Like I don't see the tangible benefit. I haven't seen it, and I haven't heard anybody talking about it. Um Granted, I use AI all day every day. I'm using it all the time. And even I am like, I still not really seeing the benefit here, like the tangible benefit. And the manner in which I use it is obviously to learn to code. It's really it's really just replaced Google search to me. Like that's all that it's replaced. It's a better Google search, but aside from that, um, I don't even I actually I can't even say whether or not it's boosted my productivity, because I'm grinding all day every day anyway. So it's like I'm being as productive as I can because I'm working constantly to do that in the first place. So if you stripped away AI from the world, That would be the only way that I would be able to measure whether or not there's a actual tangible benefit to my productivity. But I can't really say because I wasn't really able to use AI when I started programming. It was kind of just it was still sort of Google search and Udemy courses. So that's yeah. There are some cool tools, for sure. There's some cool tools. I again, not any measurable, tangible benefit, but um, I think one of the cool ones that I've seen recently is uh, you can make like a I don't want to call it a game, but you can sort of create 3D worlds and like walk around in them, and that's pretty cool. Like that's cool. I suppose maybe if it gets good enough, then you could create a video game world with physics and rules and everything just by telling the AI what you want. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like the level of computing power that would take is pretty astronomical, I think. To do it well. Like that's the big thing. That's the big thing is to do it well. Um you can create a lot of broken games and worlds right now, but that's not really good. It's like, oh, that's cool. It kind of works, but everything just kind of works. Otherwise, it's kind of just bad. It mostly doesn't. That's the thing. It mostly doesn't. That's the big catch that everybody seems to be missing uh, in both spheres. In the group that hates everything about it, and then the group that overhypes it. They both seem to miss the part where it's always broken. It doesn't actually work. It kind of works, but that's a huge step um, from working. Kind of works is a gigantic leap, uh, an immeasurable leap, I would say, even from it working. I don't even think maybe like a really, really small, tiny game you could get AI to make, but I bet I bet the best AI model right now couldn't make a fully working publishable game with like a single prompt with somebody not having any ability whatsoever to understand or correct its mistakes. I have my doubts. I have my doubts because I've asked it to do things that it just can't do. And it's not even like super complex things. It's just very specific things. Broadly, it's pretty good. Specifically, it's really bad. Okay, Linda, enjoy your walk. I'm just doing another layer with the phthalo blue. I'm gonna do the phthalo blue and then I'm gonna do black on top for the shadows. That's the path I'm gonna take here with putting in the shadows. It's gonna be a fairly long, tedious process. I'm not sure what prompted this topic. Um, no pun intended there with the word prompt, but yeah, it's I guess it's just been something on my mind because I keep getting recommended um, certain videos on YouTube. You know how YouTube recommendations are. Sometimes they're just off the wall, but like conversations, people talking about AI, their positions, and I think one of the most like one of the cringiest videos that I came across recently was the uh, draw with Jazza. I think that was one of the worst videos that I had seen. Um, I don't remember the name of the video, but it was like a 40-minute rant about not using AI, and it's like, okay, I don't like I don't understand how it affects you in any way whatsoever. You're a mostly traditional artist from what I recall, but he didn't really make any point. It was like a 40-minute rant with 0 point, and I was just disappointed at the end because I was like, I thought there was a reason here, but there's not. It's just you're just taking this arbitrary stance for principle that doesn't have any like rational bearing. It's your principle, but really it just feels like virtue signaling. I think I'm going to simplify this a little bit. A bit of complexity here that I just don't think needs to be there. So I'm just going to do it like that. And I don't even know where this line art is going. I think this goes like that. Triangle. And then this part. Kind of like that. This comes down. And then like this. Oh, I came across this really cool process. And the funny thing is, I I already sort of knew about the idea. So once I get the game engine sort of done, the sort of the base version too, and I can start actually working on the game part of the game engine and not just a bunch of framework. Um, I'm going to make just a very simple 2D game, nothing nothing crazy whatsoever. And um, my all-time favorite game, Diablo 2. the way that they made the game. I think they used assembly, which is kind of crazy because I learned a little bit of assembly when I was in university a few months ago for that very short period of time. Um, and it's a 2D game, but it's isometric. And I thought that I was going to do isometric, but for the demo, I'm not. It's too much to do. I kind of want to get past the demo and then maybe work on an actual real game, which I don't think I'm going to do isometric. I thought that I was, but the more I think about it, the less likely I think I'm going to do isometric, just because it's a lot more boilerplate stuff that I'd have to set up, and I'm kind of in the mood to make an actual game and not just boilerplate code 24/7. But anyways, the way that they create created their characters and their animation, and I've known this forever, but it just never really occurred to me of the possibility of doing it myself. I didn't think about it, so I started. I got a sprite, which is um, this painting program for creating 2D sprite assets, and it's really nice and cool, but it's time consuming to learn and to create a workflow, and of course create good sprite assets and then animate them, create every frame of animation. And then it occurred to me that I'm pretty good in Blender, so I can 3D model things. And the way that Diablo 2 made their characters back in the day is they used a 3D program to model their characters, and then they rendered out the animations and turned them into sprite sheets, and then that's how they got their sprite sheets. So they used a 3D software to create the characters all in 3D, and then they just rendered out the animations frame by frame, and then they just lined them up and created their sprite sheets directly from that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can do that. I can figure out how to make the sprite sheets directly just using the frames that I render out from Blender. And I was like, well, obviously I can't be the first person that thought of this, because obviously it had been done before. And of course, there's a number of tutorials that I came across on YouTube after I looked it up, and I was excited about that because I was just itching to make a character that I could walk around with. And the character that I'm using now, and the one that you played around with a little bit, Diane, that's just a free asset that I got from Itch. So that's not like I didn't make that. And so I wanted to replace it as quickly as possible. I was hoping to work on it today, but the physics thing is just throwing me for a loop, and it's driving me nuts trying to figure it out. But I wanted to get some good programming time put in and make some progress there before I jumped into Blender and started animating. Yesterday I did get a character modeled and put into Blender, and I just need to learn the workflow to render out a good sprite sheet. Fortunately, there's some good resources that I came across that I'm saving to go through and use to start that process. But hopefully not too much longer I'll have my own character with my own sprite sheet that I made myself, instead of some free asset that I got online of a character that randomly has a sword. Like, my character is not going to have a sword. It's just a character that's going to walk around. So I don't need a sword, but it'll be cool to have my own character that I designed as opposed to some random free asset. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a challenge, but I think my uh I gotta dust off my Blender skills because I haven't opened Blender in forever. And I felt it yesterday for sure. I was like, oh gosh, I let this go on for way too long without opening. And I have my whole Blender set up for Unreal Engine, so I have to undo that. And it took forever to learn to 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 figure out those settings. Uh, and I set them as my default as soon as I figured it out. So now every project that I opened up is defaulted to the measuring system of Unreal Engine. And I don't need that because I don't need the measuring system to be anything other than the default. And it sort of messes with things a little bit. So I gotta go through all that headache, which I'm really not looking forward to. But once I get it done out of the way, I'll have the correct setup and be able to render things and make things look cool. I just got to figure out how to set like just another default scene kind of setup because that's what I did is I changed the scene setup so that I can just open it and model and it's all set up to be compatible with Unreal Engine. So I just need to figure out how I did that and then make one for like the regular Blender default. That way the plugins and everything just work normal. But I came across a couple videos that have these add-ons to actually generate sprite sheets. So it's all I have to do is set up the camera and the animations and then render it and then it just automatically creates a sprite sheet. So it could be a very, very quick and easy process once I learn the workflow, but it's always learning the workflow that is the time consuming part. That's always the most difficult stage is just oh, how do I do this? It's kind of like learning software. It's just you know that the tools exist there, but you're sort of blindfolded and digging through all of them to figure out how to use it. So I just gotta knuckle down and spend some time doing that. But I am excited. I am excited about it because I sort of have this idea for the game that I want to spend some time making. I don't have like a story or anything yet, but at least if I get the mechanics working, then I'll be very satisfied and just make a small game. I might do a I might do a game jam by myself also. If I get everything, if I get the engine working well and I'm able to make a game relatively quickly, then I might do a game jam by myself. Shadows are coming together. Almost almost done with this color. I'm probably going to have to sharpen it here in a second just to make it easier on myself. Yeah. Getting the engine done is really been the really difficult task at this point. Um, because there's probably going to be quite a bit of iteration that I have to go through even after I can say that version 2 of the engine is complete, because version 1 was good but inflexible. And I sort of that's what I kind of learned from it, is that it's a bit inflexible. And there's still a lot of inflexibility that I'm facing now with the current iteration, in spite of my knowledge, my growing knowledge and experience. But it's it is really difficult to sort of modularize certain aspects. I think one of the biggest drawbacks that I have now is um, actor management, like in real time. And what I mean by that is I would like to be able to just drag and drop actors into a world without having to hard code their positions manually, because it's a lot of guessing. And if it's not guessing, it's a lot of measurement. And pixel measurements are annoying. They are annoying. Um, and I'm 100% certain that there is a better, more efficient, more professional way of doing it. And I've seen it firsthand that you can do what's called hot reload your project. Um, the files have to be set up to be hot reloaded. And what that all that means is that I can make a code change to the game, reload it while it's still running, and see the changes in real time while the game is still happening. And um, I know that it's possible because I've seen somebody doing it on YouTube while they're live streaming, like game development. Occasionally, I'll hop into a random person coding, um, but I don't know how they're doing it, and I want I want to dig in to figure out how to do it, but at the same time, I feel like I'm juggling so many things right now that adding figuring that out is might just blow everything up. I feel like I might actually just lose my mind if I try to pile on even one other tiny task. I'm fairly certain that I have reached my limit, my capacity. My CPU is maxed out. Okay, my personal CPU is 100% maxed out. Um, I just don't think that I could take on one other tiny task at this stage. It's just 100% of my focus is like building this engine and progressing my skills, and I just don't think that I could take on one other task. Just to get to this stage felt insurmountable, but somehow I'm still breathing. Yeah, I should probably I should probably take a weekend or even 2 weeks. Truthfully, um, I'm not gonna pretend like that's gonna happen for real. It's probably not, but it 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 may be something that I should consider wholeheartedly. It's just probably not actually gonna happen. I'm on a huge streak. Um, I don't know how many days it's been. Hold on a second. Where is it at? So in 2024, when I started this, um, I started programming like July-ish. Yeah, like July of 2024. No, it would have been a little bit before that because I didn't get on GitHub until like a few weeks later. And I started doing GitHub stuff and like learning Git and then and pushing my projects to Git. And so really it really started in August, like uploading to GitHub. And by the end of the year, I had 717 contributions. So a pretty decent amount in just 5 months time frame. And I took I finished a game December 11th, and then I took 2 weeks off, and I didn't do any programming or pushing to GitHub. And then on December 26th, I so December 26th, 2024, or actually no, December 25th, 2024 is the last day that I did not program. So from that time until now, I have programmed every single day without missing a day. I didn't even miss a day when my daughter was born. Okay? Didn't miss a single day. I was back and forth from the hospital. Still didn't miss a day even when my daughter was born. I couldn't spend the night in the hospital. I wasn't trying to anyway, but um, still came back. It is now February 10th, right? No, it is. Wait, how is that possible? No, it is February 9th, and I have not missed a day. So this year already, it's just February 9th. I already have 200 contributions on on GitHub. So I got to sharpen this pencil. So yeah, not have not slowed down, have not stopped, have not missed a day. And so far this year has been the most intense because I do it I do it longer and more often every single day than any point that I've ever done it. So it's even more intense now than it's ever been. Yeah, there's been a couple half days, mainly because I've had to do other things. For instance, last Wednesday we had to go to Krakow because I needed to register Amelia and get her U.S. passport. So that took that took a quarter of a day to do that, and so that was a quarter of a day that I didn't do. Um, and then of course when I go grocery shopping, which is like once a week, that takes up a good 2 hours of my morning. So there's some time there. But I know that's not what you're talking about. I know that's not what you're talking about. I just can't help it. I really just cannot help it. I don't want to do anything else. I do not want to do anything else. If I did not have to eat, I promise you I would not be eating. I would 100% use that time to continue doing it uninterrupted and not eat. But unfortunately, I'm not lucky enough that I don't have to eat. I have to eat, so I got to waste all that time eating when I could be programming. Even as frustrated, and I guess I wouldn't even say frustrated. I don't let it get to me when I can't figure something out. Um, I surprisingly I'm still quite patient in spite of the level of grinding sometimes. Um, so yesterday I had a pretty grindy day with almost no progress with especially the physics stuff. The I actually got the post processing and shader stuff complete. That was grindy, but in spite of those times where I am just trying with every ounce of my being to complete what I'm trying to do, and I'm like I feel like I'm just hitting a brick wall. I just keep going, and I don't I don't get I don't get the feeling that I'm frustrated. I just keep going undeterred. I don't actually get frustrated over it. I just kind of realize that I don't have any emotion in regards to it. I just want to get past it, but I don't get frustrated actually to the point that it affects my mood in any way. In fact, I would say that it makes me think about it even more because yesterday was a super grindy day, which I don't have very often, actually. I don't have days where I just can't make any progress because I'm stuck on something and I can't figure it out. Um, but so yesterday stuck out because it was definitely one of those days. And in spite of that, when I finally stopped working and I shut my computer down to go to sleep, the entire time I was still thinking about it. I was just racking my brain with like, why is this not working? And I just was thinking about it all the way up until I was asleep. And then I woke up and it was the first thought I had of the day was, what is going on? Why can't I get this to work? What tiny little detail am I missing? I still don't know what it is. I spent 6 hours on it this morning before I spent probably about 4 hours on it this morning before I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just deleting it and I'm starting over. And that's where I'm at now is that I deleted it and I started over. So now the whole physics system is empty and I'm just going to try to figure out what it was that I missed and rebuild it from nothing and go from there. I'm still at a loss as to what I'm missing. Um, if I had to guess, which I have guessed and I've tried to check, but it's just still not working, uh, is that there's some disconnect between positions. There's like some disconnect between position of the actor and its physics body, and I know that I'm updating it. Like the actor has a position and I update that position, but why the physics body isn't following it when I'm telling it to, I don't. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that, but eventually I'll figure it out. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that's probably a very similar sort of experience with crocheting, and you catch a mistake like hours later, and you're like, oh well, I guess I gotta untie all this and fix that mistake, and then I can continue from there. Yeah, from an outside perspective, I would totally appreciate the level of frustration that you would assume a person has. But if it's something that you enjoy, then I don't think I don't think frustration can really get to you the way that it would be otherwise perceived by outside observers. And I think that's how it is for me because I genuinely have no feeling of frustration in spite of the constant struggle, the constant struggle in uh, puzzle solving that I'm trying to do and just failing over and over again. But I'm getting through it. I'm surviving still. My understanding of all of it is has gotten so much better. I don't feel uh, like 2 months ago. I look at code and I look at a code base and I just feel lost, and I feel like I don't understand how things are communicating, and it was very frustrating to sort of feel disconnected from like what is being programmed and how things communicate. But now it feels really nice to look at a code base and be like, oh, okay, I see how this class is being called into, and how these objects are being registered here, and this is how they update. And there's still a little bit of a disconnect. It's not like I see things perfectly clearly now, but at the very least I feel much more grounded and competent. Yeah, I feel much more grounded and competent, and that's a really good it's a really good feeling recently, especially in the realm of programming, because I feel like competency is a very fleeting feeling, because at any moment when you're trying to do something you don't know how to do and you're trying to figure it out, it can really make you feel dumb. I still probably don't feel all that confident with my capabilities, but I don't have anything that I'm measuring it against at the same time, which is probably a good thing right now. If I never have anything to measure it against, then perhaps I am either completely deluded in my perception of my own capabilities, or I am completely underestimating myself and I am actually way above what I should be able to do. I don't know. And I kind of like that. I think I'm going to keep it that way as long as possible. In sort of this non competitive state. As long as I can't compare it to anything, I have nothing to compare it to. And therefore, I can't have anything influencing my perception of my own capabilities. So I think I'll just leave it like that. I think it makes it more enjoyable, or at least prevents it from becoming something that's unenjoyable. Because And I know this about myself. I am extremely competitive. I have an unhealthy amount of competition, and I don't know why. It's not something that I tried to cultivate in myself in any way. It's just I know that it's there, and I'm not a fan of it. I feel like it ruins a lot of activities, especially social activities, because I think why be competitive in a social setting? That makes zero sense. But it is like a subconscious compulsion that just eats away at me. Um, and so if I can block it from happening at all, then I think that's the best route. The best route. It was uh, my competitive nature that ruined chess for me. That's why I don't really talk about it or play it. Actually, I haven't played chess in a long time. Not even like a casual game. I haven't even thought about it. Haven't even thought about it until just now. Yeah, I do. I recognize those things in myself. I'm very aware of my my own personality traits. Um, I take uh, I want to say it was Aristotle that said, "Know thyself." I think it was Aristotle. Please be Aristotle. I'm pretty sure it was Aristotle. Um, but I take that quote very seriously. Um, and it's been something that I've practiced for over 15 years. Um, and I don't think most people understand the meaning of it and what it actually entails, but it, it's a very important part of who I am. I don't try to guess. I don't try to guess about my motives, and I'm very uh, pragmatic about my motives, to myself, especially. I don't try to convince myself that I'm a better person than I am. I just try to acknowledge where my weaknesses are and improve on them. That's kind of what I always try to do. And by recognizing where my weaknesses are, it gives me the opportunity to work on them and improve myself. So I'm very quick to realize and recognize my my drawbacks or my weaknesses or whatever it may be. And I have no reservations about sharing what I perceive my weaknesses to be, because I think that they're inherent in just about everybody. And really the only difference is whether or not you accept it or not. Because denying it is probably the worst thing that anybody does. When they deny their own weaknesses, then what odds do you give yourself to improve if you deny your own weaknesses? kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point for failure or whatever mishap uh, is derived from that weakness. You know, if you're a jealous person or a competitive person or a lazy person or whatever insert personality trait uh, you can identify in yourself. If you refuse to identify it, if you deny, then the odds that you improve it are, basically zero. You're kind of giving yourself zero chance at that point. So I really thought somebody was going to see if Aristotle said that. Um, I gotta figure it out. I guess it wasn't really. I guess it wasn't really one person. I don't know. I tried to find it, but I didn't get an answer. I mean, I'm torn between saying Aristotle and Socrates, but I don't actually know. But maybe it was like a saying that was passed down that's not really that nobody's given true credit to saying it for the first time, which is understandable. I mean, sometimes people are given credit to things that they're not the first to say, but who knows? The concept or the philosophy that drives the concept of knowing yourself, um, at the very least, is thousands of years old. So it's nothing new under the sun in that regards. So I guess that's the important thing. Yeah, but the phrase "know thyself," but still one of the. Oh, okay. Yeah, so maybe it's not like an exact quote. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. So maybe I was falsely attributing it to Aristotle, but only only by proxy. So still incorrect, but close. Either way, I hold that thought pretty much every day. I've been probably the past year or so been reading Stoic philosophy, which I try to incorporate into my daily thought. I have this book here, and I read it every day, sort of like my daily uh, daily meditation. I do it first thing in the morning, and then I have Marcus Aurelius's meditation on my bedside. a lot of people don't know this, but the basic sort of foundation of cognitive behavior therapy, which is about the only psychotherapy that has clinically shown uh, real evidence based practical use in, like, I guess, mental illness. I feel like mental illness is kind of a scapegoat term a little bit for uh, making things that are natural sound more severe than they are. Uh, there's mental illness that's like real, and then there's like the TikTok mental illness where people like self-ascribe and self-diagnose themselves with fakeness in order to garner sympathy or to dilute their personal responsibility for their bad choices. But the cognitive behavior therapy is essentially a real world application of stoicism. Because at the core of both cognitive behavior therapy and stoicism is the control of one's thoughts, and it has proven to be effective both in a clinical setting and in a real world setting. So one of the things that I constantly have been telling myself over the past year, or a little over a year now, is the very popular sort of stoic mantra of control the things that you have control over and don't worry about the things that you don't have control over. The whole, like, the core philosophy. I think one of my other favorite ones is don't don't talk about being a good man, just be one. I like that one a lot. Oh, hey there, Chandra. Good to see you. Oh, I'm glad you came to check in, since it's going to be the last stream. Project will be all done here in the next, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. Yep, indeed, actions louder than words. One of the things, and even I can't believe it, one of the things that I've noticed over the past, say, year is my level of patience. And it it's kind of crazy for even me to notice it, because I've always, even when I was a kid, like even when I was younger, I don't know what it was, but I always had a seemingly unending amount of patience with stuff. Maybe not everything, certainly not everything, but a lot. And um, I recall being a kid and adults commenting on it. It was so substantial even as a kid that it was on a regular occasion, relatively regular, that adults would recognize my level of patience in things. And as an adult, it has gotten significantly more. Like, my level of patience with just about everything is just unending. And even in the last year, I have I've noticed I've been able to expand it to even greater lengths that I don't even think are perceptible to anybody other than myself, because it's always been to a great length. But for me to recognize it in myself, I feel like is a milestone that I don't think I would ever have thought of achieving. And it's for such small things. And I didn't think anything about it in the moment, but as time went by this past year, I can feel it, and it just makes my life so much better. And I have to credit it to stoicism. I there's just no other influence in my thought that I could attribute it to. But man, every day I every single day I start out by thinking about the things I can control, and not and just choosing not to let the things I don't have control over bother me. Um, and just saying that every day for like a year, it's pretty crazy, because it almost feels like I'm just able to defend or deflect every inconvenience. Like driving, like driving, somebody cuts you off. I don't even think about it. Like, uh, or, or you're stuck in traffic and you don't know why you're stuck in traffic. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. I've like, and when I start to feel even the slightest sense of impatience bubbling up, which I feel like just isn't even happening at this point, but I just say to myself, can I control it? Like, is this something that I can control? And the obvious answer is no. I just go back to enjoying my music or whatever else. It comes in and it leaves almost instantly at this point. No matter what it is. No matter what it is. Waiting in line, getting cut off in traffic, standing in the checkout aisle at the grocery store for a half hour, like whatever inconvenience could possibly arise, I feel like it's already defeated, because I have been just reminding myself of that constantly. I have like no sense. I don't even remember the last time anything upset me, like in a sense of anger or anything like that. Zero memory of feeling anger. That's how long it's been. Not that I ever like had big anger issues in the recent years or anything, but for sure it's even less than it was before, which was already a very small amount. Yeah, there really is a lot of like events in your life that will test your patience. And I feel like I've had some for sure. A good example would be like this last year with dealing with the insurance company, a tree falling on my house, a pipe bursting, like the construction company taking like 10 months and not communicating. I had so many things to complain about, but I just didn't care. And now it's over. Like I don't have to deal with any of that stuff now. Um, and it didn't bother me. I just didn't let it. I couldn't control it. So why make a fuss about it? There was there was a passage like a day or two ago, I think. Let me see here. See if I can find it. Oh yeah, it was a couple days ago. It's a quote from Seneca. It's you cry, I'm suffering severe pain. Are you then relieved from feeling it if you bear it in an unmanly way? And essentially it's about complaining, right? Like if you well if you complain and cry about it, are you then better? And no, obviously not. Um, so why do it? You know, why do it? And yeah, that's something that I still feel like I could probably work on a little bit. Um, there's things that I like to discuss, things that I like to talk about that I wouldn't necessarily attribute to complaining. Just things that I think, opinions, just opinions, not a complaint, just an opinion. Um, but I think it's an important distinction. Yeah, not complaining, just an opinion. And I feel like I have been complaining less in like my day to day life. Like I don't really complain about anything. I don't really have a lot that I could even pretend to complain about. Uh, I genuinely feel like my life is perfect. I do what I do what I want to do every day, all day. I love doing it. I have the most beautiful daughter on the planet. Sorry to all the other daughters out there, but um, I have a loving wife. Like I there's not anything that I would want to try to change. So it's what would I possibly complain about? I have no idea. I'd have to make it up. I'd have to make something up to complain about. That's the only way I could find a complaint. I think I wonder if I have the passport photo of Amelia. It's such a good photo. I might have to send it to myself just to show it because I don't actually think that I have it on my phone. I think it's only on my computer. Um, Hold on, let me check my photos really quick. No, I do not. All right, let me send it. I think I'll just send it to myself. I don't have my keyboard. Do I have it? Ah, here we go. Yeah, when we. Okay, trying to. Why can I not drag that? Try it this way. Okay, I don't know why this isn't working. Okay, I'm gonna do it a different way. Sorry, but this picture's worth seeing, so I have to send it to myself. Here. So that's Amelia's passport photo. It's kind of maybe that light. Yeah, it's a little bit brighter in the thing, but she's just so photogenic and so pretty. even the even the people at the consulate office were uh, gushing about how adorable she was. And she is. She's just so adorable. Oh yeah, very precious. Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, Diane, but it's kind of an unfair advantage if you even want to call it that, because like boys are always raised to suppress their emotions, and so the the majority of what you perceive as a benefit is sometimes like eating away as well. Like what your perception of what might actually be better could actually be detrimental. Um, because for the most part, we're raised. I mean, now it's hard to find a boy that's not being raised as a girl, but uh, for the most part, it's it's that we had to adapt. Like we are sort of forced to adapt to deal with our emotions, and oftentimes not in the correct way. And it's not necessarily that it's a control, it's just that we've gotten really good at suppressing them. Um, but fortunately, at the very least, we develop techniques um, to deal with them. Um, so there's that advantage of just the difference of way boys and girls had been raised. Usually girls are uh, what's encouraged to display their emotions, as opposed to being uh, sort of taught to restrain them. Boys are always taught to restrain them, whereas girls are encouraged um, uh, to display them. You know, boys were always ridiculed for crying, for instance. Like that's it's always kind of a joke in movies and stuff, but it happens in reality, obviously. And I think that does make it. I mean, that does make it a little bit harder. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that there is necessarily an inherent advantage, um, but uh, certainly from an evolutionary standpoint, I guess, for lack of better terms, I'm trying to avoid that term because it's more of a society thing. So like a sociological perspective. If you just think about the history of the genders, I would say for the most part, men were always pushed to control their emotions, uh, whereas for women it didn't matter as much. And so just kind of have that history of benefit, the benefit of history. So I can say it would be harder to establish later on in life for sure, but it still gets a lot of guys not being able to control their emotions, but they usually just display their emotions in a much different way than women do. But I feel like I'm just stating the obvious. Um, anyways, this project is officially done. I actually totally accidentally just finished it, and I didn't realize. Too busy trying to show you the Amelia's photo because she's so adorable. I love her chunky face. She's so cute. Her eyes are just ridiculously blue too. Um, just so crazy blue. Let me see. I think I have. I'll show you another photo if I can find it. But I know it's somewhere here. It's got to be. Oh, I think it's this one. This one or this one? Yeah. I'll show you this last photo before I go, because it's one of my favorite pictures of her. It's just so candid of a picture. And it's just crazy how blue her eyes are. It's just like the way the light is catching the eye, but they're like crystal glacier blue. And I don't know if you can, I don't know if I zoom in enough, you can actually see. So this is a reflection of me, and that's a reflection of Anna. That's me standing up above her taking the picture, and Anna is sitting on the bedside next to her. But I mean, her eyes are just crystal clear blue, like so blue. And she's just so photogenic. This is just right after feeding her. You can see a slobber all over her bib, but she's just so photogenic. Oh my goodness. So photogenic. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures of her. Well, anyways, like I said, this project here is done. So I don't have any more any more live streams coming up. At least not to my knowledge. Uh, like I mentioned, like when I started this project, I knew that this was going to be the last project for the art club. I'm making it the last project. I don't know if I like to stream. I do. I like to stream. It's not like I don't. It's just that uh, it's not what I want to do. And it's been quite the journey the past like 8 years. Pretty crazy. There, and like I mentioned before, I'm still going to be in the Discord. The art club projects are still online. Um, anything that you, any art questions that you have, you're more than welcome to ask them in the Discord. Discord's always open on my computer, so I usually see the messages pretty quickly. Um, and so I'll still be available. It's not like I'm disappearing off the face of the earth. I just want to I just want to eliminate this last distraction because like my mission is so clear, you know, and I cannot I cannot risk not following it. So it's super important. It's really important. And uh that doesn't mean that like there's zero chance that a live stream will happen. There's pretty much a zero chance that like an art club live stream will happen. If I were to do any other streaming or YouTube videos like that, most likely it's going to be on a different channel. Like I mentioned, I think last week or maybe the week before, I have considered starting another YouTube channel for documenting my progress with like programming and game development and like my dream, my real dream. I'm not 100% certain if I'm going to do that. I haven't committed to it. I haven't even made a channel or anything like that. I don't know. I feel kind of like it's early to do it. When I did it for art, I jumped right in. Like I made a channel almost immediately. And the main motivation actually kind of comes back to the topic of competition, my competitive nature. was that back in like 2011, I think it was like 2011. Um, I would watch art videos on YouTube, like time lapses and stuff. My first thought was I can do that better. And I think 2 years in, I already felt like I did it better and I kind of got bored. I kind of got bored. Uh, and so I leaned less away from doing like my own artwork and leaned more into teaching because I always wanted to be a teacher anyway. I love to teach. I do. I love to teach. I have, I just have a passion for sharing anything that I discover because I love the feeling myself of learning. I've always loved to learn. And so naturally, I love to teach because the aha moment that I've always described where like something clicks and you understand it and you see the picture so clearly, it's one of my favorite feelings. um and the opportunity to supply such feeling has always been like the core motivator for why I enjoy teaching. And so I'll never stop teaching. I'll never stop talking about the things that I discover in the hopes that the words that I use to describe it give people that aha moment. But yeah, it's going to have to be in a different context because this, I thought that this was the dream. I really did. But when I discovered my real passion for game development, I, I'm, there's no more convincing me. Like I finally found it. I found the thing. Uh, and it's been the best thing. So hopefully, I'll hopefully I'll be able to share it in the future. I don't see it happening in the near future, but maybe this year. Maybe this year I'll have that point where I can I can feel comfortable opening that part of my life up to the public, like I did with art, because that's kind of where I started with the YouTube channel, was the idea of sort of opening myself up to the public because I never did. And I don't really anymore, but it was something I felt like I needed to do back then. And I enjoyed it and I'm glad that I did. But for the most part, I think the programming and the game development stuff, I got to stay my secret for now until I feel ready. But anyways, thank you guys so much for the years of conversation. But like I said, I'm never too far away. I'll be in Discord. So have a fantastic rest of your day. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.